So we continue our discussion on phylum Chordata by emphasizing or zooming in to subphylum Vertebrata. So key groups, taxonomic groups that we want to emphasize and be familiar or acquainted with are the ones that are shown here. So primarily, we're looking into the presence or absence of jaw as an important key character. So superclass Agnata, which include lampreys and other jawless fishes, are within the group. So A means absent, and nata or GNAT refers to the jaw. No? Then we also have the opposite of agnata. We have the natostomata, which are the vertebrates with jaw. No? Under natostomata, there are a number of groups depending on characteristics, no, that we have to be familiar with. There are extinct armored fishes under placodermy and extinct spiny sharks under acanthodiae. And then under natostomata, one of the basal groups are the cartilaginous fishes, the sharks, no, under chondrichthyes. Then we also have the bony fishes, the bony vertebrates. Okay, so we have the class Actinopterygii, which is the ray fin bony fishes, and Sarcopterygii, which are the lobe finned fishes. Okay. Additionally, we have another group of vertebrata, the tetrapoda, superclass tetrapoda, which covers the four-limbed vertebrates. The four-limbed vertebrates, we have class amphibia, which are having some representatives ancestral to the amniotic vertebrates. We have the class Synapsida, which are mammals and some extinct mammal-like reptiles. And of course, we have the class Sauropsida, which are the reptiles and the birds, no? The reptiles and aves. Okay, so let's discuss them. Let's have a generic overview on these vertebrate groups. So Agnata, the lampreys, jawless fishes. Um, so they are within subphylum Vertebrata, and consisting both of extinct and extinct and extant groups. No, so extinct representatives of Agnata include the ostracoderms, while the existing ones, or the ones that are still extant, are the cyclostomes. Here you can see the appearance, the pictures of some agnaton fishes, no, or agnaton animals. Okay, so the lamprey and cyclostomes. Okay. Now we have the natostomata, okay, the vertebrate or the jawed vertebrates. No? So we have natostomata as a superclass under vertebrata. The key character is the presence of a jaw. Okay, so we have extinct placoderms and the spiny sharks, the acanthodians. Okay, you can see here as a reconstruction of some of the bone material or the bony parts of these two extinct natostomates. Okay. Then we have the cartilaginous vertebrates, the chondrichthyes. The chondrichthyes had ancestors that skeleton that had bony skeleton. Therefore, the characteristic of being cartilaginous in terms of their endoskeleton is actually a specialized or an adapted trait. No? For chondrichthyes, the pelvic fins have been modified to form claspers, important for reproduction. The one you can see here in red, elongated circle, or in this I don't know, emphasized structure. Yeah. They have placoid scales, okay, and the gills and the spiracles are actually exposed. It's within the surface, observable on the surface of the animal. Under elasmobranchii, most cartilaginous fishes belong. No? There's also other groups that existed under chondrichthyes. There is Cladocelaceae, which are the primitive sharks. The modern sharks are under Selaceae, and the rays and skates are under Batoidea. Okay? So here's a representative picture. Okay. That's a green, I think this is the Greenland shark. Blue whale. A manta ray. Okay. Next, we have the halocephali, the group of cartilaginous fishes that have a very distinct cephalization. The heads are said to be complete. So there's a very distinct head portion where sensory structures and nervous system structures, especially the brain, are found. The gill slits of Holocephaly are fleshy, no? Unlike that of other bony fishes. No? So the gill slits are fleshy, the operculum is fleshy, the spiracle is close, unlike that of sharks. No? They have few scales, and right now there's only one surviving group under Holocephaly, the Chimeriformes. If you're seeing them here, these pictures represent the extant group under Holocephaly. So they're not they're sort of a hybrid, no, of shark and a fish. So a very different appearance relative to sharks or to bony fishes. Okay? Then we have the bony fishes, the osteichthyes. So the skeleton of these animals partly made of or chiefly made of bone. Okay, so gill slits are covered by a bony operculum. So here you can see in this picture. So these are the gills, and then there is an operculum covering the gill slits. They have scales within their skin, no, or on their skin, and most of them, or typically, these animals possess a swim bladder, allowing the animal to swim, or allowing the animal to move via swimming. So there's a swim bladder for these bony fishes. There are two major groups of osteichthyes. We have the ray fin fishes, the actinopterygii, and the lobe fin fishes, the sarcopterygii. Okay, so actinopterygii, the sturgeons, no? So the fins are supported by rays. That's why we call them ray fin. Okay, the ancestral representatives of actinopterygians used to have ganoid scales, which are the most heavy and complex type of scales. The modern ones usually have the lighter version or a more adapted version, a more evolved version, the leptoid scales, which are lighter, more flexible, lighter in terms of weight, and are more flexible compared to ganoid or ganoid scales. Actinopterygii is further classified into two groups, the chondrostae and the neopterygii. Okay. Sarcopterygii, the lobe-fin fishes, they resemble early groups or the early representatives of amphibians. They're very and are said to be the transitional state of aquatic vertebrates and that eventually became terrestrial vertebrates. The skeleton of these animals have a fin lobe corresponding to the proximal skeletal elements of the tetrapods, the limbs of the tetrapods. The skull is also similar to that of early amphibians. They had swim bladders that may have been used primarily for respiration. Okay, so the representative example you can see here is the coelacanth. No, then we have the tetrapods, a superclass of vertebrate animals that include all limbed creatures or limbed vertebrates. And major groups include the amphibia, reptiles, aves, and mammals. So let's cover these tetrapod groups now. Um, as a group, no, the key characteristics that delineate them from aquatic vertebrates is the fact that they have EEMs, extra embryonic membranes, that allow the animal to adapt to a terrestrial kind of lifestyle. And these extra embryonic membranes are listed here. So we have four EEMs: the amnion, the yolk sac, the chorion, and the allantois. The amnion protects the embryo within a sac that is filled with a fluid called the amniotic fluid. So here you can see for a chick, the amnion is the blue colored membrane. So it houses, encases the developing embryo, and the fluid where the developing embryo is suspended at or suspended within is the amniotic fluid. Then there is a yolk sac, the yellow colored one, yellow colored structure that you can see here. It contains yolk, primarily important for food, primarily serving as stored food for the development of the vertebrate. Then we have the chorion. The chorion, which is the inner surface of the shell or the egg, participates in gas exchange between the embryo and the ambient. So the pink colored layer here is the chorion. And then we have the allantois, which stores metabolic waste. So here, allantois is colored green. Okay. It stores metabolic waste of the embryo and can also participate in gas exchange as it is proximal with the chorion. Okay, this is a good summary table for a quick reference for you to remember the key characteristics of terrestrial vertebrates. Okay, now let's cover the major classes. We have amphibia. The class amphibia are ectothermic tetrapods. Ectothermic meaning they are not able to control or regulate their body temperature on their own. They have to depend on the ambient, or the ambient's temperature will fluctuate the inner temperature of the animal. They live part of their lives in water and some part on the land. So they are able to survive in both locations, or in both in both water or aquatic and land-based development, or land-based life journey. So all living amphibians, they belong to a specific group. So we have an important term to remember, the group called Lis amphibia. So all amphibians belong to Lis amphibia. Okay? And representative animals include frogs, toads, salamanders, caecilians, and newts. No? Let's have a discussion on these groups. So under Lis amphibia, we have the modern amphibians, which have aquatic larval stages, the tadpole type of larva, and possessing external gills. There is no bony scale in modern amphibians. So they don't have a bony scale except for one group, the gymnophionans or the apodans, the caecilians, which are worm-like amphibians. They burrow through the soil. And they're known as the only group of tetrapod that do not really have a limb or pair of limbs. So they are vermiform in appearance, as you can see in this third picture here. No, so groups under Lissamphibia called include the anurans, the frogs and the toads, the urodellans, the tailed amphibians, and as I mentioned already, the apodans and gymnophionans. the Sicilians. Okay, so here you can see uh, Sicilians. Okay, then we have uh, tailed amphibian. Okay, newt. Then we have, of course, the anurans. Okay. Right. So I will again pause the lecture so it can be 15-20 minutes long and will not be too much on your end.